when a person is going through something, especially where they feel like, am I the odd one out? Like, is there something wrong with me? Because this seems to happen to everyone else and it's not happening to me. Or my life looks very different than everyone else's life around me. Is something inherently wrong or broken with me because my life doesn't look like anyone else's life? And just to know that like our tests and our lives and our path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is as unique as our fingerprints, that we really can't compare our life to anyone else's life, because we you were created, all of us, each of us are created with unique purpose, and your test is going to be tailor-made for you. So everyone can probably look at their lives in some way and be like, this one thing in my life looks so different than everyone else. And but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That just means there's something very special about your path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially if it's something so foundational as, for example, marriage, and you're seeking a spouse. That is something that's encouraged in our deen. Preservation of family is in the maqasid of Sharia. It's in the greater objectives of Islamic law, and it's something that is, family life is a pillar. And yet you have these figures in Islamic history where you can't really figure out if they were ever married. Like Imam Nawawi, I don't think he was ever married, but he lived a very full life. And Imam Ahmed, it was said that he didn't get married until the age of 40, which was old for him in that time. But it didn't mean that he's spiritually deficient, and so don't necessarily believe that because your life doesn't look like someone else's life, that has to do with a spiritual deficiency, but rather because our paths are designed to draw us ultimately like closer to God. So I would look at, if you can look at your circumstance and ask yourself, how is Allah drawing me closer to Him through this test? And I know, subhanAllah, so many times people who are going through a major tribulation will say, people in the middle of a divorce, for example, which is a very painful divorce, or people in the middle of other big tribulations will say, this is a really hard test, but I have never felt closer to God. This is a really hard test, but I have never felt my prayers more. This is a really hard test, but through this test, I realized who Allah is to me in my life, and I changed my life around. And I know even some who have said, subhanAllah, they've said, after a tremendously difficult test, because this is the test that drew me closer to God, I wouldn't give it up for anything. Like I do it all over again, just so that I could be closer to God through this test. And so, so I would just say, like, find your way to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the tribulation. I love these words by Dr. Umar Farooq Abdullah. They're just so beautiful. He said, love Allah while you are in pain, and you will be like a mountain. And mountains are not in need of anchors. And if you think about it, mountains are anchors. And a really clear, subhanAllah, visualization of that for me is the people of Palestine, the people in Gaza, that they're in the most tremendous pain, but they're expressing love for Allah. I saw a woman do the celebration, Zaghruta, after she was informed that her children had become martyred. And she said, celebrate these people. They're in heaven. And she starts celebrating. And I'm looking at her like, you have an iman. You have iman, because you're celebrating something that is clearly a loss. Later on, I imagine the same woman would grieve and feel the loss. But in that moment, when she's, the first moment of the shock, she's praising God and she's recognizing martyrdom. And she has so much faith in this moment of pain. And I can see that statement come true. Like the faith of the Palestinian people is so strong because they love Allah while they're in pain, such that their iman is like an anchor for the iman of the whole world. Everyone else knows how to find their way in this darkness because they're looking at their faith and saying, they're actually showing us how we need to respond to this test. And so, so I want to say, like, it may be hard, and there's more reward in the difficulty, as Sadr Hussein mentioned. But if you can find your way to loving Allah through that hardship and having a good opinion of Him and being loyal to Him through this test and drawing near to Him, inshallah, you'll find that there's a sweetness in that when the bitterness of the test ends, you wouldn't give up that sweetness for the world.